Hello and welcome. In this video we will talk all about schema markup for SEO purposes. So what is schema markup? It's basically a way of telling search engines like Google a little bit more information. If we scroll down here, we can see that there are a couple of websites that are showing review stars, and sometimes you might see price points also being inserted into the search results with schema markup. So to see how these websites have done it, we can copy and paste this URL into Google's own schema testing tool, which is here, and I will provide the link as well. It's called the Structured Data Testing Tool, and that's from Google. So when we're on this tool, we just click on New Test. We put in the URL that we've just found, and away it goes, and it will tell us what kind of schema it has found on that website. So these are the different types of schema that it has found: question schema, video, medical, which makes sense, I guess, because this is a dentist that we're looking at. And so these are the different data points within their medical schema. And the one important thing we need to realize is when we click on a certain element on the right side here, on the left side it will show us which part of the code has generated this part on the right side here. So if we want to copy a certain thing or use something similar as our competitors are using, then we can always inspect the schema, click on it, and find out which schema they used to create it. So we're gonna go over this organization type schema, which is very similar for medical organizations and other organizations as well. So same as are the different entities that you might have, such as your Facebook, Google+, Pinterest, and so on. And address is self-explanatory. Aggregate rating is what creates the review stars. We've seen they have a rating value of 5 stars out of 5 and a review count of 3, so that is marked up here. Now they have a description here for the review, so each single review is marked up here. I suppose this is the first review, the second, and then the third here, along with the names. And if we wanted to add or change something in here, it's as simple as clicking on the same as, then we select what we want to change in here, and we need to be sure to only change the stuff within the brackets. So we can put my twitter.com in here, and then we click this validate icon here, which will check if the code is still working and correct. So we've changed something in the medical schema, and we can now see it says my Twitter in here, which is perfect. So let's say we like this competitor schema and we decide to use it on our website. How do we actually get it into our website? So we need to select from where it says script, the opening tag. In this case, they also have a comment here which says schema start. It's no problem to also copy this, but sometimes you might not see a comment like this, so you just copy the script opening tag. You drag all the way down until you see the script actually closing. So we can see here's a couple of different schema types. The next one here is video. Say we don't want the video, we only want the first one, so we look for this first closing tag here, which seems to be that. Yep, it opens here, it closes there, so that's our schema. And the easiest way to actually put this into a WordPress website is to simply have a text block. So we'll remove this text block here, we'll add a new text block in WordPress, and then we need to be sure to actually click on text in WordPress to make sure that we can put in HTML code and other types of code as well. And I like to put this script tag inside of paragraph tags. That seems to sometimes stop it from breaking. So I put a paragraph tag just around this script tag. Then we click on Save Changes. And you can see there's nothing that actually shows on the visible side of the page. We will confirm that in a second. And if we click on it again, sometimes you see this little, I guess it's a script icon, but it looks like a video here. So then you see this little icon, which just tells you that your schema is actually there. So you hit update here. And now we will copy this link to inspect if the schema markup is really on our page now. So let's open this. There it is. The medical schema is now implemented on our page with 11 York Street in Sydney, which is not correct, of course, for my business, but you get the idea that you can easily change things in your competitor schema to make it work for you. So it's just a quick introduction, I guess, to how we can add schema to a page. The other way you can add it to a page is if you have access to the header file and you only want to add it to a specific page header. So there's a plugin in WordPress, I believe it's called page by page headers or something along those lines. So let's see what that plugin might be called. Headers by page. I believe it was headers. Scripts, maybe insert header footer code manager. Yep, this is the one here. So add scripts to individual pages. The reason being that we want a certain schema only on certain pages. So our home page is supposed to have organization schema. Our products, if we're selling products, should have product schema. And our services, if we're a plumbing service, for example, will have service schema. However, it's not a major problem if you're a plumber and you're marking up your plumbing service with product schema. Google will still understand it and it will still provide a benefit for it. So there's no set rule at the end of the day that you have to have this specific type of schema. It's more about what type of entities you're linking out to from your schema than the actual schema type yourself, in my experience. Okay, I hope this was helpful just on how you can include schema on your website and how you can analyze your competitor schema. One tip, if you work with this tool here, the structured data markup, be sure to validate every single step of changes you make, because just a simple comma being missed here can end up in an error. Now we see here at the bottom we have a missing comma or bracket, which will throw an error and break the whole schema code. So this bracket needs to be added back in order for the schema code to make sense. Okay, so that's just something to be aware of. And we do have a lot of other text on here as well. So we can see here, okay, it shows us this little red icon, which is helpful if you can't find where you might have gone wrong. Just scroll and look for the left hand side where it has a red X, and there we go, here it is. Now we know we need to add our comma back, and then it will fix the schema as well. It should, at least in theory, do that for us. Okay, we have the comma here. Okay, the worst. This is where we missed it, and then that bracket closes. So now you can see live what a pain schema can be. Suppose because this is the last item in this row of elements, it doesn't need to have a comma at the end, similar to the next one here. The last item never has a comma, as there's nothing that follows it. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And now we can see it validates okay, and the schema markup is accessible again. One thing you can do if you're not comfortable looking for the schema in this whole page, an easier way to actually work with it is to copy the whole schema. Copy here, and then we click new test, and instead of fetch URL here, we say code snippet. We paste the code in here, we run the test, and now we can see the only thing that we're working with here on the left side is this schema that we have created, and that makes it easier to troubleshoot because you're not needing to go through hundreds of lines of code. You only have this little piece of code here on the left side. So there's a huge upside to working with schema manually, because you can do so much more than if you're restricted to plugins. And as you can see, it's very easy to implement in this JSON LD format as well. So I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Thank you.